In the time it takes you to listen to this sentence, a modern zero-day ransomware attack can breach a perimeter, move laterally across a network, and, just completely start encrypting a hospital's entire server room.
Yeah, it is incredibly fast.
Right. And the traditional way we try to stop this, waiting for an alarm to go off, logging the alert, and then sending a human analyst to,
Hmm.
investigate, it's mathematically and physically just way too slow.
Oh, absolutely.
By the time the security team has their boots laced up, the data is already held hostage.
It's a structurally flawed approach. I mean, the entire cybersecurity industry has spent decades building better and better tools to detect a threat after the activity is, well, already inside the house.
Yeah.
You're basically just optimizing the speed at which you realize you've been robbed.
Which brings us to the core of today's deep dive. We are tearing into an internal one-pager for a platform called Intrusion Shield on-premise.
Really interesting document.
It is. Our goal here is to dissect how this specific architecture is attempting to completely invert that traditional model. They're moving entirely away from detection and response and pushing this strict, autonomous, prevention-first model.
Yeah, it's a fundamental paradigm shift. When you look at the source material, it's not just, a new feature.
Right.
It's a completely different philosophy of how an enterprise network actually interacts with the internet at large.
To ground this for you, think about traditional security like a really good detective. A window shatters at your office, the motion sensors trigger, the detective arrives, dusts for prints, and eventually, figures out who broke in.
After the damage is done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Shield on-premise is claiming to be something else entirely. It's positioning itself as a hyper-intelligent bouncer standing a block away from the building.
I like that analogy.
Right. This bouncer recognizes a known burglar walking down the street and just stops them before they even reach your property line.
Yeah.
So the window never shatters in the first place.
And that analogy, it really sets the stakes perfectly for why anyone managing infrastructure today needs to pay attention. We are operating in an environment of absolute information overload, which is compounded by constantly evolving zero-day threats.
Yeah, the sheer volume is insane.
Right. The sheer volume of traffic hitting an enterprise boundary means relying on manual, human-driven rule creation. It's just a losing battle.
Totally.
Understanding how network enforcement can become autonomous, like how that bouncer operates without needing a human to hand him a wanted poster every 5 minutes, that's really the only way forward for modern enterprise protection.
A bouncer's only as good as his memory, though. Like, if we want to understand how this actually works, we have to look at the brain behind it.
Exactly.
The source document states that this platform is powered by Intrusion's proprietary intelligence platform, and it continuously evaluates traffic against a database of more than 8.5 billion IP addresses.
It's a massive data set.
It's huge.
Yeah, it represents over 30 years of continuous intelligence gathering, behavioral intelligence, and government-level threat hunting. They have essentially mapped the historical behavior and reputation of the Internet's entire infrastructure.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the physics of that claim kind of bother me.
Sure.
8.5 billion IP addresses. If Shield is sitting there evaluating, every single packet of data trying to leave or enter a corporate network, and it's checking it against a database of 8.5 billion records.
Yeah, you're thinking about latency.
Yes.
So,
Doesn't that inherently introduce massive latency? I mean,
all right.
it sounds like it would grind a high-speed corporate network down to dial-up speeds.
What's fascinating here is that that's the immediate technical red flag anyone would raise. You can't ping a remote cloud server 10,000 times a second to check reputations without, bringing business operations to a dead halt.
Right, it would be a disaster.
But the source notes this operates continuously in real time, which implies localized, highly optimized intelligence.
Okay.
It's not scanning a spreadsheet of 8.5 billion rows sequentially. It relies on a constantly updated, hyper-compressed, localized engine that flags reputation scores at line speed.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, it's making the decision autonomously on the appliance itself.
So it's essentially keeping the most critical, high-risk intelligence cached right at the door and then updating continuously from the broader global threat engine in the background.
Exactly. And that speed and autonomy is what differentiates it from traditional next-gen firewalls or IDPS deployments.
Intrusion detection and prevention systems, right?
Right. If you look at the comparison table in the document, those traditional tools are marked as having only limited capability for reputation-based enforcement and autonomous threat prevention.
But why is that? I mean, companies have poured tens of millions of dollars into next-gen firewalls. They use threat intelligence feeds too, don't they?
They do, yeah. But traditional systems are fundamentally rule-based. They rely really heavily on signatures.
Meaning what exactly?
Well, an analyst sees a new threat, or a feed identifies a specific bad domain, and a human rule is written, like block traffic to X.
Gotcha.
It is inherently reactive. Shield, though, takes a different mechanical approach. It evaluates the communication based purely on the historical behavior and reputation of the destination infrastructure.
Oh, wow.
So if a server in your network tries to talk to an IP that Intrusion knows has a history of hosting bulletproof malware infrastructure, Shield severs the connection immediately. No one has to write a rule. The enforcement is entirely autonomous based on reputation.
It's the difference between waiting for someone to match a specific description of a bank robber versus, recognizing that the person trying to walk in has a lifelong criminal record, regardless of what they're wearing today.
And that nuance is critical because threat actors constantly change their signatures. They rewrite the malware so the hash changes.
Right, to bypass the firewall rules.
Exactly. Traditional tools wait for the new hash.
Yeah.
Shield just looks at the IP the malware is trying to communicate with and blocks the infrastructure itself.
Okay, so the brain is constantly evaluating reputation at line speed. But a brain needs hands to actually stop the traffic, right?
Right.
Where does this platform physically sit to execute this? Modern corporate networks are an absolute nightmare of complexity. We're talking cloud endpoints, physical servers, and random hardware plugged into switches 10 years ago.
The document is very specific about this positioning. Shield on-premise is a transparent inline security platform, and crucially, it is agentless.
Agentless.
Yes, it requires absolutely no software installation on the endpoints themselves.
Transparent inline, meaning it physically intercepts the traffic flow right at the network edge rather than relying on like an antivirus software running on an employee's laptop to catch the bad behavior.
Yes, exactly. And the agentless piece is arguably the most vital architectural advantage discussed in the source. Because, think about what an enterprise network actually looks like today.
It's a mess.
It's not just modern Windows and Mac laptops.
Right, you go into a hospital and they have an MRI machine running an operating system from, 2008?
Easy.
Or a manufacturing plant with a PLC, a programmable logic controller running a robotic arm on the assembly line. You physically cannot install a modern security agent on those.
No, you can't.
The manufacturer would void the warranty, or the machine would literally just crash.
And if that robotic arm goes down because of a ransomware worm that moved laterally through the network, the whole factory stops. Millions of dollars are lost.
Yeah, it's a huge liability.
Traditional endpoint security completely ignores these devices. But the source explicitly calls out IoT, OT environments, medical equipment, and legacy infrastructure.
Because it's agentless.
Right. By sitting in line and operating without agents, Shield protects those devices by proxy. It monitors what the MRI machine is trying to talk to. If the MRI machine suddenly tries to establish a connection with a known Russian command and control server...
Shield just drops the packets at the edge.
Exactly.
Because it doesn't care about the OS of the device inside the building. It only cares about the reputation of the destination outside the building. It's like a macro-level spam filter for the entire physical location.
It acts as an umbrella over the whole thing. In the source's comparison chart, protecting unmanaged and legacy devices is a glaring weak point for traditional firewalls and IDPS platforms, which again is listed as limited capability.
Right.
They just aren't designed to provide a protective canopy over hardware they can't natively integrate with.
But wait, if it's sitting in line, physically in the flow of all traffic leaving the building, doesn't it just replace the firewall you already paid for?
No, and the source makes a point to clarify this. It sits alongside the existing firewall infrastructure. It is designed to strengthen the existing posture, not, rip and replace it.
I see. So the firewall is still doing what it does best, enforcing access policies, checking ports and protocols, acting as the locked door.
Yeah.
And Shield is the bouncer standing next to the door, checking the background of anyone trying to use the key.
That's the exact mechanical relationship. The firewall manages the structural access, and Shield manages the behavioral and reputational access.
Okay, so far, this all relies on the bouncer knowing who the bad guys are. We've established Intrusion has this massive 8.5 billion IP brain. They know the history, they know the bad neighborhoods of the internet.
They do.
But cyber criminals aren't stupid. They know their infrastructure gets burned.
Yeah.
So they spin up brand new servers, brand new domains, completely clean IP addresses that have zero history.
Happens every day.
A true zero-day attack using zero-day infrastructure. The bouncer has no idea who this is. How does Shield handle a completely unknown entity?
This is where the platform's architecture takes a rigid, somewhat aggressive stance. The document explicitly states that Shield's policy is to deny unknown and low reputation destinations by default.
Wait, deny by default. So if it doesn't recognize the destination, the traffic's just dropped, period.
It's really the only mathematical way to close the gap exploited by zero-day attack infrastructure.
Wow.
Threat actors automate the creation of thousands of new IPs daily. If your security posture allows unknown traffic to pass until it does something explicitly malicious, you will always be breached.
Yeah, you're always a step behind.
Exactly. Shield extends the concept of zero trust directly down to the network communication layer.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because usually we hear zero trust in the context of identity. Like, you authenticate a user with multi-factor authentication before they can access an app. You don't trust the human.
Right. But Shield takes that philosophy and applies it to the packets themselves. It doesn't trust the destination.
Every single communication is treated with suspicion.
Yep. The source highlights that this preemptively stops things like command and control callbacks, ransomware communications, and data exfiltration attempts.
Let's focus on that command and control piece for a second to really understand the mechanics here. If a piece of malware somehow gets onto a laptop, maybe an employee brought a USB drive from home, you know that malware usually has to call home to the attacker's server to get its instructions.
Or to download the actual encryption payload for a ransomware attack.
Right, and that call home almost always goes to a newly spun up unknown IP address to evade traditional blacklists, right? So Shield sees the outbound request to an IP with no reputation, drops it by default, and the malware is just left sitting there completely inert. It literally can't get the key to lock the files.
The attack chain is broken before the payload even executes.
That's crazy.
If we look at the comparison table, zero-day communication prevention and blocking unknown infrastructure by default are areas where traditional tools offer zero native support. They are explicitly marked with dashes in the document.
Really?
Yeah. A next-gen firewall will let that outbound call happen because there's no rule telling it not to.
Okay, I have a major problem with this deny by default stance, though. I mean, I get the security benefits, like setting my phone to send all unknown numbers straight to voicemail.
Good analogy, yeah.
But for an enterprise network, blocking all unknown traffic sounds like a phenomenal way to completely break the network.
This raises an important question for sure.
Right. What happens when the marketing team is trying to access a brand new vendor platform that just launched yesterday? Or AWS spins up a new server cluster for a legitimate cloud app? You can't just black hole business operations because an IP doesn't have a 10-year pedigree.
You're touching on the operational reality of false positives. And while the marketing one-pager doesn't dive deep into the granular administrative workflows, it relies on a very specific mantra: verify before trust.
But quoting a marketing mantra doesn't keep the CEO from screaming when a new cloud app won't load. How does verify before trust actually function mechanically without causing chaos?
Well, based on how these architectures must function to survive in enterprise environments, verify before trust doesn't mean a permanent brick wall.
Okay.
It means dynamic, real-time evaluation. When an employee tries to reach a completely unknown destination, the system doesn't just permanently ban it. It likely uses automated, on-the-fly DNS analysis, rapid behavioral profiling, or secure quarantine routing to verify the infrastructure's legitimacy in seconds.
So it's doing a quick check.
Right. The point the source is making is about the starting position. The default state is closed, requiring the destination to pass a rapid verification.
Instead of the traditional default state of open, which waits for the destination to do something malicious before closing the door.
Exactly.
Got it. So it forces a validation check rather than just blindly trusting the handshake. That makes much more sense than just breaking the internet for the whole company.
Yeah, that would be a tough sell.
So what does this all mean? If Shield is sitting in line, autonomously dropping known bad traffic based on reputation, and dynamically verifying or blocking all the unknown zero-day traffic, what is the ripple effect of this?
It's massive.
Because these enterprises have huge security operations centers. They have teams of analysts staring at monitors fed by millions of dollars of downstream tools like EDR, SIEM, and XDR.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the downstream impact is arguably the largest operational benefit outlined in the document. By ruthlessly filtering the traffic at the perimeter, Shield drastically reduces the noise and burden placed on those exact downstream tools.
It cures alert fatigue.
It eliminates the primary source of it, yes. Think about the daily life of a SOC analyst. They are drowning in thousands of alerts a day from their SIEM.
Oh, yeah.
Most of those alerts are just the system telling them, hey, a known malicious scanner from a foreign country just knocked on our firewall.
Which is useless noise. It's the detective constantly being called because someone walked past the building.
Exactly. Because Shield's global threat engine updates continuously and drops that malicious traffic autonomously at the edge, those alerts never even generate. The downstream tools aren't forced to investigate or respond to low-level automated noise.
But wait, if the system is completely autonomous and it's killing all this traffic silently at the door, how do the analysts know what's happening? You can't just have a black box dropping traffic without a record.
Oh, definitely not.
Compliance and auditing teams would have a field day with that.
Right, but Shield isn't a black box. The source details that it provides comprehensive logging of both allowed and blocked communications, and it's all managed through what they call the Intrusion Command Hub.
The command hub. Okay, so that's the central nervous system where the humans actually interact with the data.
Yes, it delivers centralized reporting, policy management, and AI-powered insights. And this is how the role of the analyst fundamentally changes. They aren't obsolete, their workflow is just elevated.
So instead of spending 8 hours a day swatting mosquitoes, closing out endless, meaningless alerts about blocked port scans, what are they actually doing?
They are draining the swamp. Because the autonomous engine is handling the sheer volume of attacks, the analysts use the comprehensive logs in the command hub for proactive threat hunting.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they use the AI insights to look for broader patterns, like why is this specific subnet of our legacy OT environment suddenly the target of sophisticated reconnaissance from a specific nation state? They get to act like actual intelligence analysts, investigating complex long-term risks, rather than just acting as exhausted alarm responders.
They move from tactical firefighting to strategic defense. That's a massive ROI on human capital right there.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's step back and look at the whole board here. We've unpacked an architecture that is genuinely trying to invert the traditional security model.
Yep.
Intrusion Shield on-premise is leveraging over 30 years of intelligence and a database of 8.5 billion IP profiles to move from reaction to an autonomous prevention-first blockade.
It's a big shift.
We dug into the mechanics of how it sits in line as an agentless platform, which is critical for protecting the unprotectable, the massive sprawl of IoT, medical devices, and legacy manufacturing systems that just can't run endpoint software.
Which are huge vulnerabilities.
Right. We challenge the deny by default stance, seeing how applying zero trust to network packets stops zero-day command and control traffic dead in its tracks. And finally, we looked at the downstream reality. By quietly and autonomously handling the overwhelming volume of attacks at the front door, it cures alert fatigue.
It lets the humans do what they do best.
Exactly, allowing human analysts to leverage the command hub for actual proactive threat intelligence. Now, if you are managing infrastructure and this architectural approach is something you want to dig into, Intrusion has been building this intelligence for decades. You can reach out to them directly to see the mechanics for yourself. Their number is 888-637-7770.
A great resource.
You can also email them at info@intrusion.com or dive deeper into the platform specs at www.intrusion.com.
You know, we just spent a lot of time analyzing a system that applies a rigorous zero-trust philosophy to every single network packet,
Yeah.
operating under the assumption that the unknown is inherently dangerous. But think about how sharply that contrasts with the reality of our personal digital lives.
Well, that's true.
Every day, we willingly connect our personal devices to unknown apps, we scan random QR codes at restaurants, and we join novel networks just to participate in modern society.
We just trust it all by default.
Exactly. As enterprise environments become increasingly sealed off and deeply suspicious by default, it raises a fascinating question.
Which is?
How long will it be before that strict, autonomous verify before trust mindset becomes a mandatory requirement for our personal hardware, too?